Viewers, you will hear the sirens going off. You will hear the panic that's going off after one strike. Now the smoke has calmed down, but it took so much time, and that in itself is enough to remind us what this impact must have felt like on ground zero. Viewers, the war is raging on in West Asia. We just saw visuals from Beirut, and now we're moving on and seeing that Israeli air defenses have now tried to intercept incoming Iranian missiles over the capital city of Tel Aviv. Now, the Israeli defense forces have intercepted Iranian missiles that were being rained over Tel Aviv. In fact, this comes after Israel carried out at least 11 airstrikes of its own, some intense and causing fires near gas stations, targeting southern suburbs of Beirut. And now we're seeing the IDF intercepting incoming Iranian missiles over Tel Aviv. We'll get you the visuals in just about a minute. These are the visuals on your screens, a barrage of missiles that you can see slicing through the air, the skyline of Tel Aviv, the capital in Israel, and the interceptors are on, and they are fighting against the barrage of missiles that are being rained down from the Iranian military. Now remember, this comes even as the Iron Dome remains activated on Israel, especially protecting the Israeli air defenses. But despite the Iron Dome, there are certain missiles and drones that find their way and slice through not just the Iron Dome, but also the Israeli airspace. And these are the visuals on your screens.
הכל הולך לקריה.
Now remember, many of these countries, including Israel, Iran, and the others in Gulf region, have given warnings to their own civilians to stay inside their residences. Schools and major operations have been shut down. But even then, viewers, remember, the missiles are being rained down every now and then.
הכל הולך לקריה.
Viewers, a barrage of missiles. You can see this is the skyline of Tel Aviv. Despite the activation of the Iron Dome, which was activated on the very first day of the war, there are certain missiles that actually break through the Iron Dome and get in. The Iranian military has found those loopholes, and these are the visuals on your screens. Viewers, now the Pakistan-Afghanistan clashes have entered their 8th day. Afghanistan is holding massive anti-Pakistan protests in Kabul, and Republic is on ground zero, getting you minute-to-minute details of what's unfolding. We'll continue with our rolling coverage on the other side. Stay tuned to Republic TV, Nation First.
सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MDH का जलजीरा जीरा से
जीरा से असली रिफ्रेशिंग असली स्वाद असली मजा
MDH
U.S. Central Command began Operation Epic Fury at the president's direction. The goal was to dismantle Iran's security structure and remove imminent threats. Targets include command centers, missile facilities, air defenses, and key military infrastructure.
Republic reports live from Kabul amid massive anti-Pakistan protests. Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister accuses Mossad of carrying out false flag operations in Cyprus. In a big relief, India gets 30-day waiver from the United States to buy Russian oil amid the rising conflict in West Asia.
यह एक abnormal situation है, मैं ऐसा मानता हूं. What I consider as more worrying is the fact that this abnormalcy is becoming the new normal.
Defense Minister Arnab Singh speaks on West Asia war, terms it an abnormal situation. Sri Lanka takes control of second Iranian vessel a day after US torpedoes Airstrikes. Vote counting underway in Nepal's high-stakes general election, in which the rapper 10 politician Balendra Shah's party gains leads in early counting. Coordinated ED raids against Anil Ambani and Reliance Power Limited underway across 10 to 15 locations. Good afternoon. You're watching Live and Breaking. I'm Rakshita Mishra with you, and we continue to get you all the latest updates coming in as this war in West Asia is only spiraling out and expanding, and the implications for India closely being studied. Now, Russia is positioning itself as a reliable energy supplier, especially amid this current global energy crunch that has been triggered by the war. And now Putin's envoy, Dmitriev, suggests that more deals are likely as the world recognizes Russia's importance in the energy market. This comes after the US granted India a 30-day waiver to purchase Russian oil despite the previous restrictions. So this is the update we are having right now as far as this is, of course, a reprieve coming in what this 30-day waiver means for India is that it boosts the confidence of Indian oil exporters, positive outlook for Indian economy also amid the war. It also secures the oil reserves amid choked Strait of Hormuz. And the economy also now is insulated from the price shocks. In fact, there are, of course, we are trying to understand what it really means. Now, 2021, there was, of course, you can say the royal purchases. There is a comparison. Okay, we have Executive Editor Niranjan Swami joining us on the broadcast. We also have a guest joining in also. Niranjan, well, there is, of course, a reprieve coming in for India, but what does this really mean? And what more details are we tracking?
Well, as we just got a video in from Tel Aviv, where you can see that the interceptors were up in the skies as some missiles were incoming. There have been alerts in the last 1 hour in different parts of Israel, including in Tel Aviv. And to speak more about the ongoing operation, we have with us right now Kelly Kabani. Now, Kelly Kabani is a spokesperson of the IDF, and she's involved in the operation as well. She's talking to us live from Tel Aviv. Kelly, good afternoon. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hi, Kelly. Can you please unmute yourself? Can you just please unmute yourself, please? Yeah. Okay, we'll try and ask Kelly if you can please unmute yourself, Kelly. I'm not able to get your audio. We'll just go across to her. That's the IDF spokesperson joining us live from Tel Aviv as we stay with those pictures coming in and the live breaking news updates. I'd like to go across back to the pictures that just came in from Tel Aviv. As I go across to Kelly Kabani, I want to show the pictures that just came into our newsrooms a few minutes back. And this shows you the situation in the region, in the Middle East region. At last count, we had at least 30 nations who had joined the war as of this minute, at last count. And it's only getting bigger. No side is backing down in this war against Iran. Let me see if Kelly Kabani can hear me now. Kelly, can you hear me? Hi, good afternoon. All right, I'm going to go across to her. There seems to be an audio issue there, so I'll try and fix that with Kelly and go across to her in just a bit. But Rakshita, we were talking about the different news updates coming in the last few minutes. Just to give you a heads up about the different news inputs that came into our newsroom, we had a visual come in from Tel Aviv, and we had those live pictures coming in from Beirut, Lebanon, as Israel continues to pummel the Hezbollah leadership. And apart from that, the French minister has just spoken, saying that nearly 50 French ships are currently besieged in the Gulf waters, 8 others in the Red Sea, confirming that even France is completely involved in this ongoing operation. Now, that is as far as France is concerned. Let me also tell you that as of this minute, we had alarm come in of a possible missile attack in Tel Aviv. So the entire town seeing sirens being sounded. This happened a few minutes back. And we are tracking every development there. I'm handing it back to you, Rakshita.
Yeah.
Just trying to sort that tech issue with the IDF spokesperson joining us live from the war zone. But while we get that line through, I'm handing it back to you as you get us more stories from the war zone.
Barrage missiles there striking in the skyline of Tel Aviv as we are playing out those visuals coming in. Explosions heard across Tel Aviv as we continue to get you visuals from across several locations in Tel Aviv of Israel. And this is one of the shots. You can see the skyline there. This video captured on a mobile, what we see right now. And this is, of course, the escalation day by day we see from morning to night, especially right from the dawn itself. The missile strikes, the drone strikes start off from the Iranian side, the Iranian missile barrage sparking explosions over Tel Aviv. And as we speak, we're getting in more and more updates, visuals of several areas. Even a warehouse had witnessed a major fire in Barakat. No casualties, thankfully. But there are multiple locations in Tel Aviv that have been struck. All right, we'll get you more updates. We'll get you more updates now. President Donald Trump, he has urged all of the Iranian diplomats posted all across the world to request asylum. And in another warning to Iran, Trump asked the IRGC, the military of Iran, and the police to lay down their arms. Here's more.
Trump's streak of warnings to Iran continues. In another threat, Trump says IRGC, military and police must lay down their arms, else they will be killed. Trump once again urges the Iranian people to fight the leadership. Promises immunity to the people of Iran.
And I'm once again calling on all members of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, the military and the police to lay down their arms. They're only going to be killed. And now is the time to stand up for the Iranian people and help take back your country. You're going to have a chance after all these years to take back your country. Accept immunity. We'll give you immunity. And we'll be giving you really the right side of history, because that's what it is. So you'll be perfectly safe with total immunity, or you'll face absolutely guaranteed death. And I don't want to see that. They don't want to see it either. We also urge Iranian diplomats around the world to request asylum and to help us shape a new and better Iran with great potential. It's a country with great potential, it's much better future for Iran. It's now beginning. It's going to be, I think, a great future, and the United States will ensure that whoever leads the country next, Iran will not threaten America or its neighbors, Israel, anybody. If you look at what happened, they had missiles aimed at all of these other countries, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, many others, that weren't really involved very much, and they had missiles aimed. Well, they were aimed there long before this ever started. They were going after the entire Middle East. And then we came along. We blew up their party.
He urges Iranian diplomats around the world to request asylum. Trump continues to be reckless, with no end in sight to the ongoing war.
In a big move that strengthens India's energy and oil reserves, US President Donald Trump has signed a 30-day waiver for Russian oil purchases by India. This comes at a point when the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most crucial shipping routes for oil, has been blocked by the IRGC with the escalating war in West Asia. However, the Indian government is assured that there will be no rise in prices for now, insulating the economy from the shocks. More details in this report.
Iran has claimed control of the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial global shipping route. It has firmly said vessels allied with the US and Israel will be attacked if they attempt to cross the region. While most of the world is now reeling from surging oil prices, India remains resilient. We have a diverse supply chain for energy and do not rely only on the Strait of Hormuz. Our ties with Russia are strong, and so is the oil supply.
Resolution is always through negotiations. The conflict should stop as soon as possible.
How long this conflict is going to continue?
I have no idea. This is a question to the U.S. We have always been open towards supplying oil.
As per reports, 2 Russian tankers carrying a combined 1.4 million barrels of crude which were bound for East Asia have now diverted to India. The Indian government is rallying to insulate the economy from further expected shocks. As per sources, the government has 50 days of stocks at the ready. Further, they are assuring that there would be no increase in prices. As per government sources, India is in a very comfortable position in energy.
Okay, so Rakshita, we have Kelly Kabari. I hope you can hear me now, Kelly. Kelly is the IDF spokesperson joining us live from Tel Aviv. Hi.
Hi, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm sorry for that mix-up. We couldn't get your audio through. But Kelly, we saw those pictures come in from Tel Aviv a few minutes back of not just the sirens being sounded, but of interceptors being fired again. What's going on there, Kelly? What's the status in Tel Aviv in your war against Iran?
Yeah, well, I've just come up from the shelter. We're continuing to run to the shelters, every few hours in this country, whether it's rockets or missiles from Iran, from Lebanon. We're facing rocket fire from multiple borders, but we are thankfully safe because of our defense systems, our Iron Dome, which is working very hard. Unfortunately, this does mean that we do have injuries and casualties, but thankfully we have seen actually a decrease in rocket fire over the past few hours. It has become less often than it was a few days ago.
Yes. We saw some pictures coming from Tel Aviv last evening. Was there bombardment last night? Did any of those missiles launched by Iran hit any targets in Tel Aviv or elsewhere in Israel?
Last night there was indeed missile fire. We managed to intercept the rockets last night. There weren't any direct hits, but of course there are shrapnel that falls. So we do get reports of shrapnel falling now and again, but thankfully there were no injuries recorded last night.
Okay. What is the status of your operation against Iran? How many vessels in Iran have been destroyed? There are claims made by the Americans. They're putting out pictures, videos of the IDF operations and including their own operations. How many naval vessels have been destroyed of Iran? Do we have a number?
I do not. From the spokesperson of the IDF, we're focused on the missile launches, on the command and control centers. At this point, the IDF's responsibility has been directed towards that, and we're working with great cooperation with the United States. But I think that question would be better answered by them than the IDF.
Okay, my colleague Rakshita has a few questions for you. Rakshita.
Well,
Sure.
Kelly, this is what we see in an escalating situation. From the Iranian side, what is the biggest challenge that you're witnessing? We just had visuals of, cluster bombs being rained upon Tel Aviv. Also, we've seen that there has been a lot of ballistic missiles and drones being overwhelmed. They are overwhelming the air defense systems. That has really, put all the Gulf countries, in a fix, as we see from Dubai to other countries. What is the biggest challenge you see from the Iranian side?
Yes, well, actually, this war, it didn't only start a few days ago. Iran has been at war with the state of Israel for decades. It's been an ongoing armed conflict, whether it be through Iranian proxies that are right on Israel's borders, armed groups, whether it be direct attacks and drones and missiles, which actually happened from April 2024 was the first time Iran attacked Israel, then again in October, and now we're seeing this war play out with more, dozens, hundreds of ballistic missiles launched towards Israel, and of course sustained cyber operations. This has been a war against Iran for many, many years. Iran has declared death to Israel, death to the United States, and death to the West. And so, therefore, we know how to prepare ourselves. We have been working for months, for years, to have the best advanced technology, military capabilities in order to deal with this threat. But of course, Iran is targeting our civilians. It is their strategy. They are aiming ballistic missiles towards residential buildings, and therefore this is a challenge that we have to face on a national level. Israelis are running to the shelters. This is the real challenge to ensure that our public stays resilient in light of all what's going around us.
Right, Kelly also, but do you feel that there have been some sort of an, was it calculated, what you see right now? Was it expected, the kind of response we see from Iran and the proxies?
Actually, with regards to ballistic missile fire, we are seeing that they are not as capable as they were in the beginning of a few days ago than they are now. We're seeing a decrease in the amount of missiles that are being fired towards Israel. This is because, number one, of our operations there. We have managed to take out 300 missile launches, about 60% of the missile launches that they had. We have taken out about 80% of their aerial defense systems. We are actually managing to make headway in Iran, with our operations in Iran, and we are seeing this on the ground by less missile barrages from Iran. But we are also seeing an uptake in Lebanon, in Hezbollah, on our Lebanese border from Hezbollah fire. Hezbollah and Iran are sending missiles at the same time. They're simultaneously sending missiles towards the state of Israel. And so we are trying to defend all sides of the borders. But with regards to Iran's ballistic missiles, there has indeed been a decrease over the past few days.
Right. How do you see the response that have been coming in from Europe? Because we see that Europe is divided in its responses, as we see coming in over the past few years. Now, France also says that it is joining in just for the sake of defense. It maintains that it's only a defensive move. But how do you? What are your expectations on that front?
Well, I believe that Iran is a global threat. They've proved it now more than ever. Ballistic missiles have been flying across the Middle East towards civilian targets. This isn't, this is just what's happened this week has just proved what Israel has been saying for years, that Iran is a threat to the entire world, specifically to Israel and to regional partners in the Middle East. And I think that when a country calls death to the West, it's on the West to do what they can to limit the capabilities of Iran and their military capabilities, which they can then use to target innocent civilians.
What do you see next? What do you foresee, or what do you calculate as far as the next move from Iran could be? Because clearly we can see that they are not ready to de-escalate anytime soon. They are also going to name a successor, a possible successor. There are a lot of questions being raised as to what really has been the aim of this operation, this U.S.-Israel joint operation. What is the target now?
Well, one thing is very clear. Our main goal in this operation is to degrade the Iranian regime's military capabilities so that they do not pose an existential threat to the state of Israel or a threat to other countries in the region. And one thing that is also clear is that, as we continue to conduct operations there, we continue to remain precise and accurate and lawful. And whenever we see a new threat arising, we will strike it down as soon as possible. I remind you that the opening strike in Iran took out 40 Iranian leaders, including Ali Khamenei, within 40 seconds. It was under a minute in which we took out the top leaders of the Iranian regime. And therefore, as we continue our operations, we stay precise, we stay aware of what's going on in Iran, and we will make sure that their capabilities are degraded so that they no longer pose a threat on the state of Israel.
There have been, Tehran has unleashed fury with, its missiles, because there are key oil refineries across the Gulf that have also been, demolished because of its attacks. So we see that the damage is also not just in Iran. It's really expanding day in and day out. How do you see it? What could be the consequences, the long-term consequences of it? And are Israel and US really prepared to counter that? Because this is destruction happening everywhere and there's no bound now.
I believe that what we are seeing now is much easier than what we would have seen if we had waited. If we had waited until Iran had achieved 8,000 ballistic missiles, which is what it was planning, if we had waited until Iran became a nuclear threat, then the situation in the Middle East would be much worse and much scarier than it is right now. And we are operating according to a very clear doctrine. We want maximum results in the minimum amount of time. If we can complete our operations as soon as possible, that would be the best scenario for us. Therefore, we're operating accordingly. And we're hoping, to each missile launcher that we take out, each aerial defense system we take out, that is one step closer to a safer Middle East. That's one less ballistic missile that they have to fire. And that is how we hope to eventually get to a close.
Kelly, before I let you go, I understand that you have been also in the bomb shelter, so I understand you have to go. But just before I let you go, how do you gauge the success right now? How close to your motive or the goal are your forces right now? Have you achieved enough, or there's lots to do? How do you gauge it, if you just can tell our viewers?
At this point, we are very proud of what we've achieved so far. We have made great achievements in this operation, but we still have work to do, and we are continuing, to conduct operations and airstrikes many miles away from our borders. Our pilots are flying over 2,000 kilometers away from home and coming back safely, thank God. So we still have targets. We still have, threats that we need to take out, but thankfully we are really proud of how this operation has folded so far.
Right. Kelly, thank you so much for joining us on Republic TV and sharing your side and giving us the latest on the situation that is happening right now in West Asia. Thank you so much. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, viewers, now we shift our focus to other stories. But before that, it's time for a very, very short break. But we are going to tell you how it's relief coming in for India. While the war escalates and the energy prices soar, India gets a 30-day waiver from US to buy Russian oil amid rising conflict. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more on that.
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं। ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद, यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा, राजा और मसाला।
يا نعش اللي يشيل الشيعة سرجنا طاح المرتفع.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरी डे।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching Republic TV. I'm Gesu Bharadwaj, and the war in West Asia continues to make ripples even back at home in India's Kashmir. We're getting you all the details in what's unfolding on the valley. But for now, let's take a look at your headlines for the hour. Republic reports live from Kabul amid massive anti-Pakistan protests.
And we are very much trying to avoid the spilling over to other areas, and we do our best to do that. And I'm sure that you are hearing false flag operation by Mossad and by Israelis to attack refineries, to attack even Cyprus.
Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister accuses Mossad of carrying out false flag operations in Cyprus. In a big relief, India gets 30-day waiver from the US to buy Russian oil amid rising conflict in West Asia.
Normal situation है, मैं ऐसा मानता हूँ. What I consider as more worrying is the fact that this abnormalcy is becoming the new normal.
Defence Minister Rajnath Singh speaks on the West Asia war, terms it an abnormal situation. Sri Lanka takes control of second Iranian vessel a day after US submarine torpedoes IRIS Dena. Viewers, getting in a fresh breaking development from the valley now. MP Aga Raula is leading a procession following the killing of Ali Khamenei. Over 30,000 mourners have gathered to be a part of the procession in the valley. Now, sloganeering is also going on against US and Israel, and security remains on high alert. Over 5,000 security personnel have now been deployed in the valley. Even effigy of Trump and Netanyahu are being burnt in the valley, and this is continued for as many days as Khamenei has been killed. Viewers, now those were the visuals. My colleague Zenith continues to remain on the ground in the valley. In fact, restrictions continue to be put on place in various areas of Jammu and Kashmir where the sloganeering and the protest is going on. As of now, we're looking at the visuals.
I'll see what he can talk about. Ruhullah sir, what do you have to say on this position?
They are mourning, we are all mourning the assassination of a leader who not only was head of a sovereign, head of a state, but also a spiritual leader, a religious leader who was followed widely by a large section of the Muslims throughout the world. And he was assassinated in an act of aggression, in an act of terrorism by America and Israel. And that's what has hurt the people's sentiment, and which has hurt the order of the world in terms that we believed in global law, global order, international law, which was violated, and that is very painful for this society.
Trump says that USA is ready to talk with the Iran. Do you see a possibility of talks at this juncture?
Well, these strikes have to be stopped by USA. The Israeli strikes have to be stopped. Then only they can ask for cessation of the from the other side.
Iran's submarine was attacked just near the border of the Sri Lanka. What do you say?
And that was attacked in our backyard, in India's backyard. And that was a guest ship. We had asked that ship to come to take part in the event that was organized by the Indian government. And that ship was completely unarmed. It was struck on its return back to Iran in our backyard, under our watch. It's very unfortunate the government of India has chosen to remain silent on this act of aggression. We have not condemned this act. The government of India has not condemned this act. They have not called for the justice, and that's very unfortunate. We should not only condemn this act, we should call for the justice in this issue, not only in this issue, on any other issue that has violated the world order and the international law.
One last question. Now the FIR has been lodged and it is on your name. What do you have to say apart from one of the former mayor has been listed in that FIR?
They can lodge as many FIRs they want to, because they want to intimidate us through lodging FIRs, silence us. They want to intimidate us into silence. They want us not to speak about the facts on ground, how police violated the norms while they dealt with the protesters, the mourners. You could see yourself, a male police officer was seen beating a female protester, which is completely unlawful. And I spoke against that. I asked questions to police. How could that happen? And under what law can that happen? If they want to turn us silent, they are mistaken. They cannot turn me silent by lodging FIRs against me.
Thank you so much.
Viewers, now quickly shifting focus, Republic has also accessed the first visuals of Sri Lankan Navy rescuing Iranian sailors who survived the torpedo attack on the Iranian warship IRIS Dana on the 4th of March, which was launched from a US submarine about just 20 nautical miles off of Sri Lanka's coast. Now, 32 survivors were brought ashore following the attack. That's the latest that we're learning. And in fact, we're also getting in the visuals. These are the visuals that Republic has accessed exclusively. In fact, the Indian Navy has also stepped in and joined the rescue operations since the ship was being hosted in India at Vishakhapatnam for a naval display exercise. In fact, our senior editor Shravan Sen also joins us live on the story to get us more details. Shravan. In fact, before Shravan Sen joins us on the broadcast, viewers, let me remind you, these are the visuals of Iranian sailors being rescued off of a coast in Sri Lanka. These are the visuals that only Republic has accessed. We're in fact also being joined by Harin Fernando, who is the former Sri Lankan minister and MP and also the Deputy General Secretary of UNMP, which is the Sri Lankan opposition party. And my colleague, our senior editor, Shravan Sen, joins us to speak to Harin Fernando about the situation that's unfolding in Sri Lanka. Shravan.
Well, in fact, Mr. Fernando is joining us on this broadcast. Mr. Fernando, there is a lot of speculation over what really happened when the Iranian ship was off the Sri Lankan coast. Reports basically emerging that the Iranian ship had actually made a request to the port authorities, hoping that they would be allowed to enter Sri Lankan water. Any further details that you have been provided by your government with regards to whether at all there is any truth in some of these claims that are being made?
To be honest, Sri Lankan government has not made any significant real detail into this incident, whether they were prior noticed about it. And Sri Lankan people and also the opposition parties as well as political analysts are kept in the dark at this moment, at this hour, just to see whether this was informed to Sri Lanka before or was there any agreement that Sri Lankan government has gone with maybe India or United States with regards to this, and also whether we have any concrete evidence or any concrete position of the Sri Lankan government to say that this would not happen again in our waters, in our economic zone. And as you know, Sri Lanka is based on a big maritime operation, like so many vessels, cruise ships, oil tankers, a lot of them pass through Sri Lanka waters. And it's a very strategic location, the Sri Lankan port. Therefore, we are very concerned, with grave concern that Sri Lanka is having. And also, we feel a bit hurt as an opposition party, as I represent the former president's party. And we do know that he has come into agreements in different circumstances with the United States with regards to securing or safeguarding the vessels in the zone of Indian Ocean.
But Mr. Fernando, I believe that as a member of the parliament, you would have been told about what really happened that day. Because if it is true that the Iranian ship had made a request to authorities in Sri Lanka for a safe passage and hoping that they would get some sort of protection from the Sri Lankan Navy, then the bigger question emerges, why is it that your government did not allow?
Well, this is the question that was asked in Parliament. There were a few MPs in the opposition yesterday claiming, opposition MPs claiming that the distress call has happened a long time before, and unfortunately, they have not responded. The Sri Lankan government has not responded until the last minute. So therefore, there are different claims. The authenticity of these claims is yet to be evaluated. But however, yesterday the current president made a statement to the media, and he also mentioned the next vessel was taken to Trincomalee Harbour and the crew was transported to Colombo. Therefore, there was a positive sign that Sri Lankan government has responded to a stressed vessel and actually recovered all of them and brought them back into the Colombo port in a safe passage. So therefore, it's mixed thoughts at the moment. Sri Lankan people, Sri Lankan politicians, Sri Lankan political analysts, even international media, all are kept in dark. But we hope to have concrete stand of the government very soon, and hopefully today or tomorrow we will exactly know. And only grave concern is that Sri Lanka is a country that depends on many of our imports, exports, many of our transshipments from our ports.
Mr. Fernando, a lack of a clear statement coming in from the Sri Lankan president about the action carried out by United States of America, even though it is in international waters, it's a clear violation. Many would assume that the Sri Lankan president does not want to draw the ire of President Trump. And it seems that because of that, there is no strong statement coming in from the Sri Lankan government.
Well, this is for debate at the moment, and everybody is talking about it because Sri Lanka is a small nation. Sri Lanka is a country that depends on its big brother India, first of all. And also, we do speak with India on many of these occasions, and the angel for all these countries, the smaller countries, would be looking up to India to let us know exactly what we should be doing at this point of hour. And it is our concern that the Sri Lankan government has not yet taken a proper stand on where we should be. But the opposition parties all have come together condemning the UN Charter, the 51, Article 51, breaking that and attacking a sovereign nation. Also, it's worse when it comes to international waters, whether it could happen again in our waters, and how are we going to face this situation in future. So therefore, there is no concrete evidence from the government to say where they stand. But as an opposition parties, we all condemn it, and we stand by our nation as we should have the right to defend ourselves and defend our waters.
One final question, Mr. Fernando. If at all there was an 11-hour delay of giving permission to the Iranian vessel, which perhaps had the Sri Lankan Navy and the Sri Lankan port authorities, had they given the green signal, perhaps the life of those 180 sailors could have been saved. Is the opposition parties in Sri Lanka demanding an answer from the Sri Lankan government about whether at all there was an 11-hour delay?
Well, this is actually a big concern, and also it's a big accusation at the moment. So the main opposition party yesterday in Parliament made that statement, and a senior MP did make that statement. So the government is bound to answer to it, and I hope that there will be an investigation done in it, and proper results will be awaiting all of us, so that we will exactly know what took place, and which is a big concern, because it's out of our waters, but in our economic zone. So if that's the case, this could happen again and again. There will be surcharges on the vessels that's crossing here. So it's going to be a big concern for Sri Lanka. So we are waiting for all the answers from the government.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fernando, for joining us on this broadcast.
And thanks for that quick chat with the former Sri Lankan minister. Now viewers, quickly shifting focus to what's happening back at home in Bengal. Now the Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee is holding massive sit-in protests in Kolkata, and Mamata Banerjee has begun her sit-in protest against the voter roll deletions. She's in fact also alleged that the BJP and the Election Commission are hatching a conspiracy ahead of the Bengal polls. My colleague Harsha joins us live from Ground Zero. Harsha, speak to us about what's happening around. You know, this is a tussle between TMC and the Election Commission that's just growing and swelling more and more. Talk to us about what's ongoing. What can you see around?
Yes, you rightly pointed out this is the growing tussle between Election Commission of India and Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee, and there's a high voltage drama which we have been seeing since the time the special intensive revision was conducted, in the state of West Bengal. Right now, I'll ask my camera person Partha to show you the visuals of the protest demonstration. This is the indefinite protest which has been called by Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee. The cadre Karyakartas of TMC are here, and on stage we see the Member of Parliament, MLAs, and the councillors are seated along with Mamata Banerjee on stage, and Mamata Banerjee has been stating that the assembly election should be postponed till the time the number of electors who are in the logical discrepancies under adjudication, which the number almost 63 lakh. Till the time that process is not completed, the election should not happen in the state of West Bengal. The genuine voters are being deleted continuously. That's what is being alleged by Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee and most of the TMC leaders. But on the other side, the Election Commission in the list which was released on 28th February clearly stated that this is the electoral list which has been prepared by the special observers after going on ground. They have did align with the BLOs and BLAs on ground, and the proper list was prepared. In fact, almost 1.5 lakh was included also through Form 6, 6A and Form 8. But right now what we see is that this is the indefinite protest. Right now there are almost 7 crore 4 lakh electors in the SIR list. 63 lakh are under adjudication. The logical discrepancies were registered. But right now the protest which has been called by Mamata Banerjee is at the Esplanade East in central Calcutta, which is almost 1.3 kilometers away from the office of the Chief Electoral Commission of the West Bengal. This protest march is being conducted, and as we see that the stage is set, but for how long will Mamata Banerjee sit on the protest? That's not yet decided. She only stated that this is the indefinite protest, but is it day 1, day 3? How long will it continue? That's still not really revealed by the TMC leaders. But right now what we see is that this is the protest which is being staged by Chief Minister herself against the ongoing special intensive revision process. Once again, I'll ask the camera person to show you the visuals. Mamata Banerjee herself on the stage, and also she has stated that 22 people she has called here at the protest site whose name has been deleted from the elector list, who all are the genuine voters of the West Bengal. The name has been intentionally deleted, that she has alleged, and those 22 people will be arriving here at the protest site. This is what she has stated. The ones who are on stage with Mamata Banerjee are MP Dola Sen, Saugata Ray, and also the ministers, councillor, and the MLAs of the TMC party. We see more and more people joining here at the protest site. But one thing, that since the election of the West Bengal is gearing nearer and nearer, so as the high voltage drama and the chaos situation in West Bengal, as the Chief Minister has been alleging that there has been wrongful deletion of electors in West Bengal, and the process is wrongfully conducted in the state. So that's the tussle which started in the month of November and still is going on when the final list is yet not declared. The first list was declared, was announced on 20th of February. Supreme Court has clearly stated that the electors will keep on being added to the list of the SIR when the digital discrepancies are out and their pending documents are uploaded.
Right, Harsha. Right, Harsha, thanks for getting us the details, viewers. We will keep on getting more details. That was my colleague Harsha on ground zero right next to the Chief Minister, who has announced a sit-in protest for an indefinite period. Moving on to some other news that we're tracking at this hour. Now, in a big move that strengthens India's energy and oil reserves, US President Donald Trump has signed a 30-day waiver for Russian oil purchase by India. Now, this comes at a point when the Strait of Hormuz, which is one of the most crucial shipping routes for global oil and gas supply, has been completely blocked by Iranian aggression amid the escalating war in West Asia. However, the Indian government has assured that there will be no rise in prices for now, insulating the economy from shocks. There are more details in the report that comes forward. Take a look.
Iran has claimed control of the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial global shipping route. It has firmly said vessels allied with the US and Israel will be attacked if they attempt to cross the region. While most of the world is now reeling from surging oil prices, India remains resilient. We have a diverse supply chain for energy and do not rely only on the Strait of Hormuz. Our ties with Russia are strong, and so is the oil supply.
Resolution is always through negotiations. The conflict should stop as soon as possible.
How long this conflict is going to continue?
I have no idea. This is a question to the US. We have always been open towards supplying oil.
As per reports, 2 Russian tankers carrying a combined 1.4 million barrels of crude which were bound for East Asia have now diverted to India. The Indian government is rallying to insulate the economy from further expected shocks. As per sources, the government has 50 days of stocks at the ready. Further, they are assuring that there would be no increase in prices. As per government sources, India is in a very comfortable position in energy security and stocks are being replenished every day. India's friendly ties with Russia have proven to be a silver lining once again. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that European leaders have only themselves to blame for their energy situation.
Что касается Европы, то, что происходит сегодня на европейских рынках, это, конечно, прежде всего результат ошибочной политики европейских властей в сфере энергетики. Это злоупотребление зеленой повесткой, это использование всех этих инструментов для внутриполитической деятельности и достижения партийных или каких-то групповых целей. Ничего общего с интересами народов этих стран такая политика не имеет.
While the rest of the world is bracing for unstoppable surge in energy prices for the next few days, India sits comfortably.
Viewers, shifting focus to what's happening in Lebanon. Now, fresh strikes have been reported in the capital city of Beirut. We have the latest visuals that are coming in. In fact, just before this, we showed you residential areas in Beirut that were set on fire. This is the same area. More missiles have now rained down on Lebanon's capital city of Beirut. Look at the large plumes of smoke that are going up in the air. This does not look like a military establishment at all. And these strikes have come in coordination of both Israel and the United States. Look at the visuals on your screens, viewers. In fact, if you have any ambient sounds, you must listen to it. Sirens going off in the background as the city braces for impact. And this is the second one since today morning, a bigger one than the one that we saw before on Republic. We showed you the first visuals of what was happening in Beirut. And now remember, Israel's war is not at a single front. They are not just fighting the enemy, Iran. They are also targeting Hezbollah targets that lie deep inside Lebanon's territories, and these are the latest attacks that have shaken Beirut. Viewers, now that's all that we could pack in this edition of the News Bulletin, but don't go anywhere. We're getting you more updates of the war. In fact, it's a good news for India as a 30-day waiver from the US's side has come in to buy Russian oil amid the rising conflict in West Asia. We're tracking this and a lot more for you only on Republic TV. Stay tuned. Nation first.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा।
In the global employability rankings by Times Higher Education UK, only the following 6 institutions from India are ranked amongst the top 230 in the world for having the most employable graduates. IIT Delhi, IISc Bangalore, IIT Bombay, IIM Ahmedabad, IIT Kharagpur and Amity University.
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाई जीरा सिप। MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिप।
जीरा सिप, असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH।
U.S. Central Command began Operation Epic Fury at the president's direction. The goal was to dismantle Iran's security structure and remove imminent threats. Targets include command centers, missile facilities, air defenses, and key military infrastructure.
Good afternoon, viewers. You're watching Live and Breaking. I am Raktamisha with you, getting in all the latest updates from West Asia and the impact of what's happening across the globe. First, the headlines. Republic reports live from Kabul amid massive anti-Pakistan protests.
And we are very much trying to avoid the spilling over to other areas, and we do our best to do that. And I'm sure that you are hearing false flag operation by Mossad and by Israelis to attack refineries, to attack even Cyprus.
Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister accuses Mossad of carrying out false flag operations in Cyprus. In a big relief, India gets 30-day waiver from US to buy Russian oil amid rising conflict in West Asia.
यह एक abnormal situation है, मैं ऐसा मानता हूं. What I consider as more worrying is the fact that this abnormality is becoming the new normal.
Rajnath Singh speaks on the West Asia war, terms it an abnormal situation that is now becoming only normal. Sri Lanka takes control of second Iranian vessel a day after US submarine torpedoes Iris Dana. All right, we have the Aramco's response to Republic on the strike by Iran. Aramco tells Republic that they have adjusted the crude cargo operations to ensure safety. Aramco stresses on the operations being adjusted to ensure service continuity. Aramco says it has Republic TV that it is temporarily redirecting allocated volumes to Yanbu. So Republic TV has now got a response from Aramco, and this exclusively on Republic TV. Aramco tells Republic that Yanbu is an option for customers unable to enter the Arabian Gulf. And we're going to have more inputs on that and more of a context, because we've seen that how Aramco has been hit by the oil refineries have been hit by Iran. We've seen this Tehran, in fact, Iran, we've seen the attack on Saudi's Aramco oil refinery has suffered a strike. And now what we're getting to know is that there have been, of course, concerns raised on the oil supply, especially in context of India, because it is an important supplier to India. As far as the Ras Tanura, one of the largest refineries in West Asia, key artery for Saudi crude and fuel exports. And when it's hit, it's struck by the Iranians. We sought a response from Aramco. We sent in the questions, and now we have a response coming in on this war. And now what we understand is that Aramco tells us that it is temporarily redirecting allocated volumes to Yanbu. They have adjusted crude cargo operations to ensure safety, and that this is being done so as to ensure service continuity, because of course there have been there have been concerns raised. At the same time, another reprieve that has come in is how India is also getting a 30-day waiver to get Russian oil as the war enters its 7th day. So it's been a week, and we continue to track more updates. Aramco tells Republic that continuously assessing conditions aim to resume standard procedures. It also says that adjusted crude cargo operations to prioritize safety, and it also tells us that Yanbu will be the option for customers unable for entering the Arabian Gulf due to the war that's escalating. Operations have been adjusted to ensure service continuity and to help ensure reliability. So Aramco, of course, is right now has suffered with the Iranian strike. Ras Tanura oil facility shut down because of the strike. It's the largest refinery in West Asia, and precautionary shutdown has tightened global supply. And but we spoke to Aramco of Saudi, and it tells us that there are options being explored, and that adjusted crude cargo operations to ensure safety. Okay, Ishita joins us on the broadcast for more. Ishita, tell us more details about what Aramco is telling Republic TV and how big a concern the Iranian strikes have been. Ishita.
One of the big oil giants in Saudi was hit in an Iranian attack, and now what we're looking at is Surbi from our team exclusively wrote to them, and they've given us a response how they're rerouting their crude exports through Red Sea. Surbi, take us through the response that Aramco has given to Republic.
Yes. So Ishita, Aramco, one of the largest leading oil giants of Saudi, responded to Republic TV exclusively, stating that Aramco has adjusted the crude cargo operations to prioritize safety, service continuity, and help ensure reliability, temporarily redirecting allocated volumes to Yanbu as an option for customers unable to enter the Arabian Gulf. Aramco further stated that they are committed to supporting and serving customers and are continuously assessing conditions with the aim of resuming standard procedures. So this was the official Aramco response exclusively to Republic TV.
All right, Surbi, so that's an exclusive response that Republic TV has got from Aramco, which had shut down its operation on temporary basis after an Iranian attack hit the site. And now we're looking at its rerouting its crude exports through Yanbu port in Red Sea. Back to you, Rakshita.
Thanks so much, Ishita, for joining us with those details. In fact, we have some more breaking news at this point in time. The MRPL is operating as what it has been operating. Sources tell us that MRPL will not shut down its supplies. It has ample supplies. It's not going to shut down. So government sources on the import situation right now, oil imports. Now, we are getting India never stopped. Okay, this is another big breaking news we have right now. So while US tells about how it's giving a waiver, well, government sources tell us that India never really stopped purchasing oil from Russia. As Trump tries to thump his chest time and again, even ahead of the deal that India has stopped taking Russian oil, well, India never said that ever. And now, as we speak to our government sources, they tell us that India never halted the oil supplies from Russia. And that is the breaking news we have right now. Russian oil imports, of course, are key to India, especially in current situation. India has also been one of the top importers from Iran as well, as far as oil is concerned. But now the dependency on Russia only increases. And what we know is that government tells us, the government sources tell us that we never stop purchasing oil from Russia. Senior Executive Editor Abhishek Kapoor joins us on the phone line for more. Abhishek, well, India has always on record, never ever said this, that we have halted the oil supply, while US now says that it's giving a waiver. Somewhere sort of insinuating as if we had stopped. But sources tell us that we never halted those supplies from Russia. Abhishek.
Well, waiver is more like a face saver, and why not? If they want it that way, it's so be it. The fact of the matter is, and the records are straight on this, that we never stopped buying Russian oil purchases. And even now it continues. About 20% of our daily requirement, 1 million tons per annum. 1 million metric ton, I beg your pardon, 1 million barrels per day is what's coming in, and that's substantial part of our requirement. And if need be, with this waiver, we can really increase. There was some tapering, remember, Rakshita, from about 2.5, 3 million barrels per day to about 1.05 million barrels per day. Now it has stagnated there for the last couple of months since November. We can always increase that if need be. So, as I said, India has always maintained that our stance on oil purchase from the global markets is guided by what is in our national energy security interest, what is in the interest of 1.4 billion people, and in the exercise of that, if we have to make sure that we take sovereign decisions, so we will, and we have continued to do so irrespective of the pulls and pressures of diplomacy, which our diplomatic teams have handled at their level. So I think this is a confirmation of a fact on the ground, while the United States, given the kind of diplomatic headwinds it is facing on the Iran war, the fact that Europe, while paying lip service and homilies, has more or less stayed away from joining action in the Middle East for the United States, or with United States only defended their own interests, is a clear case that there is not a coalition of the willing. There is just United States carrying out this military action along with Israel. So Israel has legitimate security concerns in the region, but not so as much the United States, except for that they want to be seen as the boss of the geography. So having said that, insofar as that waiver is concerned, yes, more than welcome, given the fact that it sort of makes it easier for our oil marketing companies to legitimately buy the Russian oil and continue, and more so in the private sector, to continue to stock and tank up. Remember, there is a massive disruption happening. About 40% of our crude comes from the Strait of Hormuz, and that's sort of dried over the last 1 week. So while our reserves are deep for about 50 days, 25 days of crude and 25 days of oil products, more the merrier in terms of that psychological security benchmark. So in that sense, this clarification coming in from the government sources, we are absolutely comfortable in crude supplies and petroleum products situation in the country. We are absolutely comfortable insofar as LPG is concerned, which means the gas cylinders for the poor are not in scarcity, so there should not be no scarcity mongering. And see that Russian oil we have continued to purchase even as we speak, about little more than 1 million barrels per day being bought, and with the US waiver even more so by the private companies. So overall a very comfortable situation despite the headwinds and the troubled Middle East situation insofar as our energy security is concerned.
Right, Abhishek, absolutely. And in fact, of course, this will be having a financial impact, and with the waiver, of course, and as India imports the bulk of its energy needs, we see that higher oil prices could have translated into bigger larger import bill, but the waiver, currently getting us more of relief, limiting pressure on India's import bill as well. So yes, it's important information. Okay, we have Harsh joining us live on the broadcast. Abhishek, I need to know if Abhishek is still with us. All right, so we were just getting you what the government sources have told Republic TV. Government sources tell us oil imports in February were on the rise, and we never stopped buying oil from Russia since 2022. Harsh continues to be with us. Harsh, tell us more details about what the government sources are telling Republic TV.
Well, right, this is from the top government sources that we have confirmed that this information has been received, that despite despite the war situation in the Middle East, India has maintained that they take all their decisions on where to import crude oil and all of the other supplies related to that. In fact, India has continued to maintain that in February, India has imported nearly 20% of its total oil supplies from Russia, and it remains our top importer for the same. And this top government sources have also, these top sources have mentioned that India continues to remain in a comfortable position, while all of these LPG refineries here in India have been ordered to produce more and more gas, because if the supplies are hurt by these by the suppliers, it will directly affect the consumer. However, India has maintained its stance that they are continuing to import oil from the Russian sources, as they have already clearly mentioned that India has never stopped importing Russian oil since 2022. These government sources have also continued to maintain that India is in a comfortable position. There is no need to panic. And they have also mentioned that there are 350 different categories of crude oil, and not all of these crude oils can be sent to all of these refineries, and hence they are prioritizing and non-prioritizing the imports on the basis of availabilities. However, as far as the Strait of Hormuz is considered, the official sources have mentioned that nearly 30% of the supply that India used to receive has been hurt. However, it is being compensated, and India is in a comfortable position, and we have ample of reserve to sustain for a longer period of time as the situation in Middle East intensifies.
Okay, thanks so much, Harsh, for joining us with those details coming in on that story. Meanwhile, viewers, let's take a look at the humanitarian impact also on this conflict. The UNICEF has raised alarms over the rising death toll of children in the ongoing war involving Iran, warning that minors are increasingly paying the price of the escalating conflict. According to the UN agency, nearly 180 children have reportedly been killed in Iran since the latest wave of attacks began, with many more injured. Here's a report.
UNICEF has warned that children are increasingly bearing the cost of the ongoing war in Iran. The agency says nearly 180 children have been killed since the recent escalations began. 168 girls died when a strike hit the Shah Jeerat Tayyebe Girls' Elementary School in Minab during class hours. Reports say most of the victims were between 7 and 12 years old. UNICEF also says 12 more children were killed in separate incidents at schools across 5 different locations. At least 20 schools and 10 hospitals have reportedly been damaged during the strikes. The deaths come amid intensifying US-Israeli strikes on Iran and Iran's retaliatory attacks across the region. UNICEF has called on all sides to uphold international law and protect civilians, especially children.
Coming in now, the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has called on Afghanistan and Pakistan to immediately end the fighting and resolve their differences through dialogue. Now, Turk says that since the escalation of clashes between the two countries last week, at least 56 Afghan civilians have been killed, 129 others injured, including women and children. According to United Nations information, around 66,000 people have been displaced in Afghanistan as a result of the clashes. Now, Volker Turk also warns that the ongoing crisis is worsening the suffering on civilians and the suffering of civilians, and stressed that both the countries should resolve their disputes through dialogue. So the situation, not just with regards to the Gulf, viewers, but also between Afghanistan and Pakistan, as Republic TV has been reporting from Kabul, is showing the kind of tensions that are there on ground. And Pakistan and Afghanistan need to stop the war, says the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights. Meanwhile, there are protests that we've shown you against Pakistan in Kabul. As you see the visuals of that, clashes enter day 8 in Afghanistan. Operation carried out against a General Command Center of Pakistan Frontier Corps in Kuchlak of Balochistan. Afghanistan also claims that 12 Pakistan checkpoints and military posts have been destroyed in the last 24 hours. In fact, Afghanistan claims that 41 Pakistani soldiers have been killed, 53 Pak soldiers injured in the strikes that were carried out by the Afghan Air Force. This was by the 201st Khalid bin Walid Army Corps carrying out strikes against Pakistan's military in Torkham. And you can see that the tensions are on the rise, and there are anti-Pakistan protests on the streets of Kabul. And my colleague Hashmat has filed this report from Ground Zero in Kabul. Take a look.
last night in before 7 nights, Pakistani army tried to target Kabul and some other places in Afghanistan, but they can't because the defense system of the Afghan army is within Kabul, Negran, and many big cities, and they targeted more than 10 drones of Pakistani army and before the last few days. They tried for drones and drones, but they can't target like armies and bases, but they targeted civilian people at home in the heart and many people. But last night, unfortunately, we didn't have any casualties, but in some places at Union Line, a few Talib armies have been killed. The thousands of Afghan people are, they got together and they said about Pakistan, and they said the Pakistan army regime is connected with America. They trying to target Afghan civilian people, but they say that we are against the Pakistani army and will lead. And after last week support, let's say about Pakistan. Attack closes to Afghanistan, and we condemn the Pakistani army as operation on civilian people. They say that you see all of Good afternoon to all. As you know, that from several days, Pakistani army has targeted civilian pupils and civilians and dual lines and post Solar and Nagahar. Because of this, today, Friday, thousands of Kabul Afghans and people are get together to protest against the Pakistan army regime. They speak about Pakistan regime and they condemn all Pakistani armies that they targeted civilians. I'm in the Kabul city now and reporting for Republic. You know that thousands of people are gathering today, and this in a security position. All the people from the different sides of Kabul, they come together and they stayed against the Pakistan. And they, that time that last night and during lines, Afghan Talib army has killed dozens of Pakistani armies, and they destroyed money checkposts of Pakistani army and post Pakistan and Nagahar.
Let's wrap up this edition, but on the other side of this very short break, we're going to tell you about more details on the waiver from United States, as India gets 30-day waiver from the United States to buy Russian oil amid the rising conflict in West Asia. We'll be right back with more.
Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
يا نحش اللي يشيل الشيعة سرتنا طاح المرتفع.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
अनीस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है। अरे मेरे राजा सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है।
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
يا نعش اللي يشيل الشيعة سرتنا طاح المرتفع.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Republic reports live from Kabul amid massive anti-Pakistan protests.
And we are very much trying to avoid spilling over to other areas, and we do our best to do that. And I'm sure that you are hearing false flag operation by Mossad and by Israelis to attack refineries, to attack even Cyprus.
Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister accuses Mossad of carrying out false flag operations in Cyprus. In a big relief, India gets a 30-day waiver from US to buy Russian oil amid rising conflict in West Asia.
यह एक abnormal situation है, मैं ऐसा मानता हूं. What I consider as more worrying is the fact that this abnormalcy is becoming the new normal.
Defense Minister Rajnath Singh speaks on West Asia war, terms it as an abnormal situation. And Sri Lanka takes control of second Iranian vessel a day after US sub torpedoes Iris Dina. And we're going to begin 4 p.m. with the breaking news that's coming in. Violent protests have erupted in Skardu in Pakistan-occupied Gilgit-Baltistan following Iran's leader Khamenei's assassination in the US-Israeli strikes. Shia demonstrators, mainly from the ethnic Balti community, torched symbols of Pakistani authority, including a UN sub-office, an army public school, police buildings, and a brigade commander's residence amid outrage over perceived state alignment and forces alignments. Pakistan security forces responded with live fire, initially killing around 13 to 17 protesters, with some reports citing 6 in Skardu and 7 in nearby Gilgit. Now, the ethnic Balti Shia community in Skardu is seeing a major escalation violence by Pakistan forces in POK. 38 Balti Shias have been massacred by the Pakistani forces in Skardu in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. There's violence over the Khamenei killing. There's massacre of Shia Muslims in Skardu, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. And this is a very clear escalation. Massive and massacre of the Shia Muslims is also there in the Skardu, Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Let me also go across to my colleague, Deputy News Editor Shavan Sen, joining us from our newsroom. Shavan, this is unrest in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. What are you picking up on it?
Well, Rhythm, before I take you through the details of what we are picking up from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, particularly in Skardu, since the illegal occupation in 1947, this is the biggest escalation that we are looking at right now inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. But first, take a look at these exclusive videos that have been accessed by Republic TV, which shows the scale of protests that are taking place in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir and the manner in which the Pakistani army is trying to suppress these protests. I'll come to the details of the brutalities that have been inflicted by the Pakistani army, but first take a look at this video.
And as we stay with those visuals, this is very clearly violence over the Khamenei killing. What is the next anticipated step and protests and violence that you are picking up that will take place now, Shavan, in Pakistan?
Well, in fact, this is just the first set of images that we have put out. In fact, 38 Balti Shia Muslims have been killed by the Pakistani forces. In fact, the local police as well as the paramilitary forces have been deployed by the Pakistani government. In fact, if you closely look at these videos, and in fact, if we can just perhaps raise the notch of this video, you will understand the kind of sloganeering that is taking place, targeting Asim Munir and Shehbaz Sharif. The reason why is because of Pakistan's position on this entire matter. The Shia Muslims, since 1st of March, they've carried out multiple protests, and I'm going to show you the scale of protests that are taking place, because inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, particularly in Gilgit-Baltistan, in Skardu, what we have essentially seen is that government installations as well as Pakistani army compounds have all been torched by the Shia Muslims, the ethnic Balti Shia Muslims who have torched the government offices. Now, this is in response to what they believe has been the action, or rather the inaction of the Pakistani government, particularly not taking a position as far as the assassination of Ayatollah Khamenei is concerned. And that is the reason why there is growing anger right now in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. It's crucial to point out the fact that the reason why there is anger is because the fact in the past you've had the position that was taken by Asim Munir with regards to Pakistan Army's participation in Gaza, and secondly with regards to what is actually happening currently in Iran, with absolutely no voice basically emerging from Pakistan taking on Israel, or for that matter even the American forces. And that is the reason why there is actually growing anger. What we can confirm are the following.
I think Shavan is possibly not able to hear me, so I'm just going to interrupt him for one moment. Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, we are staying with those pictures and asking a question to you as a strategic affairs security analyst. This is clear violence over Khamenei killing, but this is also clearly the Pakistan state that is massacring its people. There's a major escalation in the violence by Pakistan forces. Where do you think this is headed? Lieutenant General D.P. Pandey, if you can hear me, sir, massive escalation by Pakistani forces, several people massacred. Where do you think this is headed now? All right, Shavan, I want to come back to you. I'm sorry for interrupting there. We're clearly seeing, Shavan, these protests are escalating. Demonstrators are raising slogans against the Pakistan's top leadership also. What's going to happen next, Shavan?
Well, I'll give you evidence of how the Pakistani media is basically trying to suppress this, because on 1st of March, they've essentially reported that 13 Balti Shia Muslim protesters were killed in Skardu. The reality is that 17 people were killed. 17 were killed on 1st of March itself. 2nd of March, it seems that the casualties basically increased, and thereafter the reported number of deaths is about 38. This happens to be the worst massacre of the Balti Shia Muslims in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Time and again, there have been multiple protests that have taken place in the past, particularly in the manner that the Pakistani army and the Pakistani government there has been operating, suppressing the rights of the ethnic Muslims there. But having said that, this time there is a massive escalation, because they call this as the hypocrisy of the Pakistani government and the fact that the Pakistani government's duality has basically been exposed by these ethnic Muslims there. And the fact of the matter is that this has been the worst massacre, because in a short while from now, what I'm going to do is going to take you through two sets of images. One of the Pakistani army compounds that have been torched. That will give you a clear idea of the manner in which there has been growing anger. We'll move to the next breaking coming in right now with regards to what has exactly happened on the ground, and also the number of images that we have accessed. One from inside the hospital in Skardu. This happens to be one of the protesters who was brutally assaulted by the Pakistani SSG as well as the paramilitary forces who have been deployed. If we can also move to the next breaking news coming in.
Actually go to what Shravan is saying. The breaking news coming in: ethnic Balti Shia community in Skardu, Gilgit-Baltistan staged large-scale protest expressing the anger and the mourning over the assassination of Khamenei in the joint US-Israeli strikes. Now, the official reports are citing 6 to 7 deaths in Skardu, part of the broader national toll of 20 to 28 from the protests, while the unofficial activist account includes a higher casualty among the Balti Shia protests, highlighting the severe suppression amid the sectarian sensitivities in the area. And Shravan, this becomes extremely crucial as the Pakistan deploys the army, imposes curfew. Clashes are there over the killing of Khamenei, but the curfew that's being imposed in the districts of Gilgit and Skardu in Shingar, where there have been deaths, people are being wounded, it's very clear that the Pakistan's call here and Pakistan army and the Pakistan government's call, the warning they're giving out, not being taken well. Okay, before I come to Shravan, let me also go across to a Pakistani journalist who's now joining us. Let me go across to my guest who's joining us. All right. I wanted to ask you what's been happening there, and I'm just going to introduce you. Give us details about what first is happening there. If my director can just speak with me for a minute. Kulbir? Journalist joining us now. And Kamran Saki, if you can hear me now.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, very good evening. Kamran, I wanted to get a sense from you about what's happening. There's been violence over the Khamenei killing, but we're now being told there's repeated shooting of the Shia protesters. It's escalation, and this violence. There's also confrontation. The army compound has been torched after the Khamenei killing. It's very clear that the Balti Shias are being massacred by the Pakistani forces in Skardu.
देखिए, ये बदकिस्मती से गिलगित के एक इलाके में पेश आया है वाकया। पहले मैं समझा कि शायद आप कराची का जिक्र कर रहे हैं, लेकिन ये जीबी का वाकया है। इससे पहले भी यहाँ पे कर्फ्यू नाफिज था, और आपको याद होगा कि जिस दिन ईरान ने पहला अटैक किया और पाकिस्तान की जानिब से शिया कम्युनिटी जो यहाँ पे बड़ी तादाद में आबाद है पाकिस्तान के मुख्तलिफ हिस्सों में, उन्होंने UN के दफ्तर को नुकसान पहुँचाने की कोशिश की थी जीबी में और कराची में US कॉन्सुलेट को। तो उसके लिए, क्योंकि वो लोग हमारे यहाँ पे मेहमान हैं और उनकी अमलाक का तहफ़्फ़ुज़ यकीनन पाकिस्तानी रियासत की जिम्मेदारी है, तो कराची के अंदर बहरहाल पाकिस्तानी आर्मी या पाकिस्तानी अफवाज की नहीं, बल्कि उसका ट्रंप भी जिक्र कर चुके हैं कि वो उनकी जो अपनी सिक्योरिटी थी US कॉन्सुलेट कराची की, उनकी फायरिंग से वहाँ पे बदकिस्मती से कुछ पाकिस्तानी जिनका शिया मसलिक से ताल्लुक था वो जाबक हुए, और दूसरी जानिब UN के ऑफिस को जीबी के अंदर निशाना बनाने की कोशिश की गई, जिसके बाद वहाँ पे कर्फ्यू नाफिज कर दिया गया। और गुज़श्ता रोज़ का वाक़या भी बदकिस्मती से पेश आया जब कुछ लोगों ने कर्फ्यू तोड़कर फिर दोबारा कुछ तंसीबात को, आर्मी की तंसीबात को निशाना बनाने की कोशिश की। ताहम उनकी तरफ कोई स्टेट फायरिंग या उस तरह से कुछ मामला नहीं हुआ जैसा कि मीडिया में रिपोर्ट किया जा रहा है, और कोई आर्मी के भी कोई ब्रिगेड लेवल का कोई कमांडर या कोई शख्स जख्मी नहीं हुआ। ताहम कैजुअलिटीज़ ज़रूर रिपोर्ट हुई हैं, कुछ लोगों के ज़ख्मी होने की जो है वो ज़रूर पता चला है, जो तसादम वहाँ पे हुआ है। ताहम अभी क्योंकि उसके ऊपर जॉइंट इन्वेस्टिगेशन हो रही है उसके ऊपर, तो वो जब सामने आएगी तो यकीनन असल वजह भी इसकी मालूम हो जाएगी। जी।
Niruddham, I'm just going to take you through the details of which are the facilities that have been torched and why the Pakistanis are basically trying to underplay this. In fact, we have a list of 7 places that have been torched so far, and quite significant. First happens to be the Pakistani Army Brigade Commander's office that has been torched. This is the residence in Skardu that has been torched. In fact, this is the same very place. This is the same very office that was actually used by General Asim earlier. In fact, when he was the Chief of Defence Staff and the Pakistani Army Chief, he had served as the brigade commander of Skardu Brigade. The other happens to, on your screens right now, we are going to put out these images. If you can go back full frame with the images of the offices, mess facilities and the residential quarters of Pakistani Army as well as the Northern Light Infantry in Skardu. Their offices have been torched. The Army Public School in Skardu has also been set ablaze. Offices of the Superintendent of Police and Senior Superintendent of Police in Skardu, the Software Technology Park in Skardu, the Green Tourism Office in Skardu and the Office of Special Communication Organization in Skardu. All of it has now been torched. So if you look at the scale of the damage that has been inflicted, it goes on to show the way there is palpable anger on the ground. And the fact of the matter is this, that no matter how much the Pakistanis basically try, it has now come out in the open. In fact, the local media there is trying to suppress this by simply saying that only a handful number of protesters, they have opened fire on the handful number of protesters. But the reality is that at least about 38 ethnic Muslims, Shia Muslims, have now been brutally assaulted. Some, in fact, I'm given to understand 17 people have been shot at point blank. In point blank range, they have been killed. So that is the kind of perhaps suppression that you are essentially seeing of news coming out from the area. And the measures that have essentially been taken by the Pakistani army, the brutality that has been seen, the assault that has been inflicted upon the locals who have been there. So that's a clear idea. Just to give you a sense, Rhythm, the clear manner in which the Pakistani army is basically operating.
देखिए, ये मैंने नहीं कहा आपको, मैं तो ये कह रहा हूँ कि कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बराह रास्त जो है वो
आप कह रहे आपसे एक सीधा सवाल करना चाहूंगा। ये बताइए कि आखिरकार पाकिस्तान आर्मी क्यों छुपाने की कोशिश कर रही है कि करीबन 30 के ऊपर लोगों की मौत हुई है और उसके बावजूद पाकिस्तानी मीडिया इसके बारे में कुछ नहीं कहना चाहती है?
ऐसा हरगिज नहीं है। इतनी बड़ी तादाद के अंदर कैजुअलिटीज हों तो क्या वजह है कि पाकिस्तानी मीडिया उसे रिपोर्ट नहीं करेगा? अभी तक इस तसादुम में जो पिछले कुछ दिनों के अंदर हुए हैं मुख्तलिफ जगह पे एहतजाजात, कुल जो तादाद कन्फर्म हुई है पाकिस्तानी मीडिया को वो 20 की है। लेकिन जो कल का आप जिक्र 40, 50 और दर्जनों का कर रहे हैं वो ऐसा कोई वाक़या नहीं हुआ। हाँ, वहाँ पे जो आप दर्जनों ऑफिस का जिक्र कर रहे हैं उनके अंदर आगा खान का ऑफिस है, IT सेंटर है, पुलिस की रेजिडेंसीज हैं, IT मिलिट्री इंस्टॉलेशंस हैं, उनके ऊपर ज़रूर उन्होंने अटैक करने की कोशिश की। और ये इतनी बड़ा जिसे आप कह रहे हैं कि वहाँ पे प्रोटेस्ट था, वो नहीं है। स्कद्दू को और GB के इलाकों को समझिए, छोटे छोटे शहर हैं और वहाँ पे चंद लोग भी हों तो
एक मिनट रुक जाइए आपके पास मैं वापस आऊंगा। जनरल DP Pandey, I want to come to you. General DP Pandey, Republic Media Network is the only news network in India to have accessed details of what's really happening inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Someone who has served as the Chinar Corps commander, someone who has looked into the activities inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. Today, 38 ethnic Balti Shia Muslims have been massacred. This happens to be one of the worst massacres that we have seen inside Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, General Pandey.
Yeah, Shawan, so firstly, let me correct this thing. There are much worse activities have taken place against the the Baltis and in that region. And more so because they are all basically Shia community, and you understand that it was the Shias are not treated right. In fact, if you are not Sunni in that country, you are a minority and you are not technically a Muslim. And if you look at what happens to Ahmadiyas and Shias, I think one should be very clear that if any protests had taken place, they are likely to be facing danger to their life. But please imagine the condition in POK, in Gilgit-Baltistan, even in Karachi and Lahore, at all places. Nothing will come out in the media, but the fact is the brutality, state-sponsored terrorism against the Shia community is a well-known, established fact. So while Trump may want to take on the responsibility that the people got shot from within, you have to also understand that how were these people allowed into a very, very high security complex? Was it complicity? or the police to allow them to get butchered? Or was it sheer incompetence? I don't think so. It was a question of incompetence. A state which is controlled totally by military should have known that areas where U.S. consulate and U.S. people are there, they are going to be the target of the Shia population after the assassination of Khamenei. And I think it's quite deliberate. You will not come to know immediately. There are a large number of human rights violations which are done against the people of POK and Gilgit-Baltistan. And for too long, the stories of Shia persecution has not come into the media because they live in remote areas and nothing much comes out from that location. So, frankly, I'm not totally surprised, having watched Pakistan very closely and what is happening inside. I'm quite certain that this was expected. They were looking for options. It doesn't happen. That why doesn't Sunni mosques get bombed? You always find the Shia mosque getting bombed on Ramadan during Friday prayers. I think there is a calibrated targeting of the Shia population in Pakistan.
General Pandey, I want you to stay with us because, in fact, we are the only Indian news network. While you're saying, there is an attempt that has largely been made to suppress what is coming out, but here in Republic Media Network, with deep sources, we've been able to pull this out of what is really happening, and we want the world to basically see. This morning, we reported on what's happening in Afghanistan-Pakistan border, and today, what we are doing right now is getting you details of what's happening in Skardu. I want to put out a picture right now. This picture happens to be of one of the protesters. That gives you an idea of the kind of brutality that has been inflicted by the Pakistani army on those peaceful protesters, because there is another set of video that we have accessed which shows that these were peaceful protests that were going on, but despite that there's been indiscriminate firing. I want to understand from you, General Pandey, as to why exactly is this becoming such a big threat right now. We'll put out that picture of the protester who's inside the hospital.
Yeah, so frankly, Sean, this is not a big deal, but the problem is the Pakistani state, which is now actually controlled by a very radical mindset of leadership. And I would not like to call leadership. They are basically the clerics from a particular sect which are controlling this entire country. And therefore, what is happening to the Shia community doesn't surprise and should not surprise the world in that location. In fact, the persecution has been constant and uninterrupted. But this time when the people have come out on the street, and also understand that Pakistan is totally, as of now, confused. Should they go with Israel and America or Saudis, where they have tied themselves into a typical alliance? They are people on pay for military. Or should they be justified to people's anger and angst which is happening in their country, and allow them to actually take out that anger and this thing. So, it's right now they're under, I think, I'm not totally surprised by what's happening to the Shia people in this country.
General D.P. Pandey, of course, the question is also curfews being imposed in Pakistan. Like Shravan's been telling us, we're staying with that unrest in POK. It's a top focus story right here on Republic TV. There are strict movement restrictions. But what is the way ahead? In fact, my colleague is also giving us some news that's coming in that the president is extremely concerned. The Pakistani president is extremely concerned with what is happening. And he's putting out and giving details condemning this destruction. President Asif Ali Zardari, in fact, is taking note of this law and order situation in Gilgit-Baltistan and Skardu. Violent protests are breaking out there. He's saying there should be peaceful protests, etc. The right words by the Pakistani establishment, but on ground it is the Pakistani forces that are killing these people, and we are seeing the violence and unrest there.
Yeah, so obviously, this happens in all over the world. When the protests are happening, you need to reach out to the community people and try and engage with them. After all, how is it possible that these many people who have to be killed have not happened in Iran? Actually, if you start looking and counting the beans, and you realize that possibly Pakistan has killed more number of Shias anywhere else. In all the bombings in the Gulf, by Iranians, hardly any numbers have been killed, and multiple times of that number have been killed in Pakistan. I think while words may be spoken by President Zardari, who has got a community of Shias is their political power in Karachi and that area. But the fact remains that these are all only words. They don't mean anything because the Pakistani state is structured. We may want them to change. It's very impossible for them to change. They will get after the minorities. It's possible to allow them to come out, and then this is also a time to take recuse behind they think they were protesting against Iranian leaders' death, and therefore we have butchered them. And well, world will ignore because world is led by only one country and about it.
Request you to stay with us. There is also breaking news coming in on the story. We're also now being told a curfew has been imposed in Skardu in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir with strict movement restrictions that have been enforced by the Pakistani army. Reports are also giving out an indication the deployment of Pakistan Special Services Group, I don't think it's elite at all, signaling heightened security measures are there amid the rising tension. So they're doing everything they can to try and curtail this anger over the killing of Khamenei. There's large-scale protests that are sweeping through multiple Pakistani cities. It's turning violent in several locations. And in fact, 32, we're being told, Pakistani Shia protesters were also shot dead in Karachi. There are lots of people saying Pakistan's largest city is also seeing gatherings of Shias. In fact, on this question, I also want to go across to the Pakistani journalist who's continuing to be with us, Kamran Saki. What is the truth that you can tell us? We're being told there are protests. People are being gutted in the UN office in Skardu at POK. 32 Pakistani Shia protesters have been shot dead. We're also being told that this is in support. Properties are on fire, including the UN sub-office and army public schools. What is happening there?
देखिए कर्फ्यू तो 4 दिन पहले से जो है वो वहाँ पे लगा हुआ है, ये कोई ब्रेकिंग न्यूज़ नहीं है। दूसरा ये कि लेफ्टिनेंट साहब मुझे एआई जनरेटेड लग रहे हैं। अगर वो वाकई इंडियन आर्मी में रहे होते तो उन्हें पता होता कि यहाँ पे लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल क्या जनरल्स और कर्नल्स और बहुत सारे लोग अहले तशी मसलक से हैं जिन्हें ये मिनॉरिटीज़ कह रहे हैं और जिन पर तशद्दुद कह रहे हैं। तो ये बड़ी हायर पोस्टिस पे इवन के आईजीज लेवल के ऊपर भी पुलिस में भी जीबी और मुख्तलिफ जगह पे अहले तशी ग्रुप के लोग रहे हैं। तो
आप एक जवाब दे दीजिए।
Shravan wants to ask you a question and
एक जवाब दे दीजिए। ये कहना सबसे पहले तो आपको कहना चाहूंगा, सुन लीजिए मेरी बात, सुन लीजिए मुझे बात। अगर आप सुन लीजिए मेरी बात। जनरल ऐसा मेरे को एक चीज बताइए, आप सवाल उठा रहे हैं जनरल पांडे के ऊपर जो चिनार कोर कमांडर रह चुके हैं। मैं आपसे सवाल करना चाहूंगा, अगर आप कहते हैं कि सब कुछ इतना अच्छा है, सुन लीजिए मेरी बात, सुन लीजिए मेरी बात। अगर आप ये कह रहे हैं, आप अगर ये कह रहे हैं तो ये बताइए कि आसिफ मुनीर के खिलाफ और शहबाज शरीफ के खिलाफ क्यों वहां पर लोग प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं, ये बताइए मुझे। क्योंकि आपको मैं दिखा दूं पोस्टर, क्या मैं आपको पोस्टर्स दिखा दूं?
वो उनसे डिमांड कर रहे हैं कि ईरान की जंग का हिस्सा बने, जो पाकिस्तान की फिलहाल फेवर में नहीं है। आप क्यों नहीं जंग का हिस्सा बन जाते? आप ईरान का तो आपके पास बहार बंदरगाह क्या कितनी चीजें उन्होंने दी हैं, आप तो बस बड़ा उसे
आप हमारी फिक्र ना करें, आप हमारी फिक्र ना करें,
दोस्त है।
आप अपनी फिक्र करें, आप अपनी फिक्र करें कि आप गाजा से लेकर ईरान में कहीं ना कहीं
आप उस जंग का हिस्सा बने। तो आपको तो पहले बन जाना चाहिए। आपका तो तेल का बड़ा इन्हिसार उनके ऊपर था, आप तो बंदरगाहें उनसे ले रहे हैं, आप तो उनसे जफियां डाल के मिल रहे हैं।
पहले तो आप अपनी फिक्र कर ले, पहले तो आप अपनी फिक्र कर ले, क्योंकि देखिए
पाकिस्तान को जब जरूरत पड़ेगी
आपको एक सीधा
Lieutenant General DP Pandey, I want to come to you and ask you to answer to Karnan, because what Kamran is trying to say is we need to take a leaf out of Pakistan's book, not realizing that Pakistan itself is trying to interfere in the internal affairs of Iran.
No, I think that's nice of him to have a view, and he can always have a view. But India follows a strategic autonomy. We don't get after with the US or Israel or sign deals with various countries to support. We don't send our soldiers to fight others' wars. And we also don't do that. We will shake hands and we talk about Iran and thereafter, carry out certain actions against them. Their airspace is being used against Iran. Everybody knows, everything is coming out and clear. So, Kamran is totally authorized to defend his own country, and why should he not? And we respect that thing. After all, he can't actually express his views openly on television. Thank you.
General DP Pandey and Kamran, Even as there's a very sarcastic smile on your face, I want to tell you, this is the behavior and courtesy with which our Lieutenant Generals treat and speak about you. आपको शायद समझ नहीं आया कि उन्होंने अभी क्या कहा. उन्होंने कहा कि आपको हक है अपने देश के बारे में कहने के लिए, बट उन्होंने आपके बारे में कुछ गाली गलौच नहीं की. तो वही तरीके से शवन जो आपसे कह रहे थे, एक कर्फ्यू इम्पोज हुआ है स्कर्दू में, आपकी पाकिस्तानी अथॉरिटीज लोगों को उठा के, शियाज को उठा के मार रही हैं, वो एक चीज रुकनी चाहिए. शवन भी कुछ कहना चाहते हैं.
I'll just get a quick point here because I'll stay with the breaking news right now rather than having this rant.
Thank you, Kamran,
really
for
coming
joining
in
us
from
on this. Yes,
the
go ahead,
Pakistanis.
Shaban. Thank you, Kamran, for joining us on the story.
Just to add this point, why there are specific details, while the curfew has once again been reimposed in Skardu, the reason being is that they're essentially looking in a manner to basically control the situation. I'm just given to understand that Pakistan Army's Force Command Northern areas, in fact, there we are being told that leaves are now being cancelled. It's the same formation. It's the same formation that has been closely looked at by the Chief of Defence Staff right now. And the Pakistani Army has once again increased the deployment in the area to control the situation. That's the situation right now as we speak in Skardu, which is only worsening with every passing day.
All right. UNICEF has raised alarms over the rising death toll of children in the ongoing war involving Iran, warning that minors are increasingly paying the price of the escalating conflict. According to the UN agency, 180 children have reportedly been killed in Iran since the latest wave of attacks began, with many more injured. We'll be right.
UNICEF has warned that children are increasingly bearing the cost of the ongoing war in Iran. The agency says nearly 180 children have been killed since the recent escalations began. 168 girls died when a strike hit the Shah-Jirat Tayyebe Girls' Elementary School in Minab during class hours. Reports say most of the victims were between 7 and 12 years old. UNICEF also says 12 more children were killed in separate incidents at schools across 5 different locations. At least 20 schools and 10 hospitals have reportedly been damaged during the strikes. The deaths come amid intensifying US-Israeli strikes on Iran and Tehran's retaliatory attacks across the region. UNICEF has called on all sides to uphold international law and protect civilians, especially children.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार.
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला. केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे. केसरिया से मन जोगी हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार. विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा से MDH का जलजीरा जीरा से.
जीरा सिप असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा.
MDH.
right now. The Central Command of the United States says that Iranian targets are being decimated by the United States forces, paving the way for continued delivery of overwhelming American military firepower. That's the CENTCOM posting on the social media handles. Iranian targets being decimated by the United States, and they're maintaining overwhelming military edge. That's what has been posted by the CENTCOM, that is the Central Command of the U.S. Armed Forces. American forces. Okay, we have some more breaking news coming in right now. The U.S. has tested the Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile. The U.S. Defense Department says that the U.S. Air Force Global Strike Command Airmen conducted an operational test launch of an unarmed Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. And a visual of that, I believe, is running on your screens right now. This is a ballistic missile that has been tested as announced by United States. It's in fact a nuclear capable missile. It's also known as a doomsday missile, and this is the test launch of that. So this is the Minuteman III ICBM that has been tested, intercontinental ballistic missile. So you see America trying to send out a message there with the test launch, and of course the capabilities right now matter more than ever, with this situation only intensifying. This doomsday ballistic missile off the California coast tested by the United States. And meanwhile, we have some more breaking news coming in right now, viewers. Azerbaijan is okay. So this is a video. Before we get you more news, let us just show you the entire visual. This video that is running fast on Republic TV. You're seeing this fast on Republic TV. The U.S. testing the Minuteman III, or the doomsday ballistic missile, off the California coast, and you just see this test launch recorded from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. It's equipped with the 2 test re-entry vehicles as per the U.S. Space Force statement. It's nicknamed the Doomsday Missile, and it's the Minuteman III that can carry warheads up to 20 times more powerful than it's said to be. The warheads can be 20 times more powerful than the atomic bomb. And on Tuesday night, in fact, the Air Force had also launched this unarmed Minuteman III ICBM. The visual of the same now being accessed by Republic TV. And this is the Minuteman III. It's the cornerstone of U.S.'s strategic arsenal. It has a range of roughly 6,000 miles, can travel at speeds exceeding 15,000 miles per hour. It can reach targets across continents within minutes. It's an intercontinental ballistic missile, and visual of the same right now on your screens. And of course, a message being sent out by United States. So one of the most destructive weapons being tested. This is America's nuclear arsenal, the Doomsday Missile, or the Minuteman III ICBM, capable of carrying nuclear warheads up to 20 times more powerful than said to be more powerful than the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. And it is, of course, it shows that the catastrophic scale of damage could unleash a bigger conflict, threat of a nuclear conflict. That's what you can understand, the signaling from the United States of America with this test, the Minuteman III intercontinental ballistic missile. Defense expert Major General G.D. Bakshi joins us on the phone line. Former Major General Bakshi, well, this is the doomsday missile, the Minuteman III, that has been tested by United States of America. So what is the message being sent out, or you think this is very, very serious?
Hardly. We aren't going to use nuclear weapons, is it? That would be, I thought, the finest armed forces in the world, strongest, etc. And to deal with a country like Iran, we need a nuclear weapon now. I am more amused than I am threatened.
Sir, but this is a this is an ICBM, sir. And we get the visual of this. This is something that we see that is only signaling from the United States of America, sir.
Yeah, I suppose the signal is not so much for Iran as it is, I suppose, for China and Russia. But to suggest that this conflict is gone so much out of control that we need a nuclear level escalation, that I'm afraid doesn't send a very good message of confidence as far as the conventional operations are concerned, man.
Right. Right, sir. General Bakshi, many thanks for joining us with those details on that story. Viewers, we have some more breaking news coming in right now. Now, Azerbaijan is withdrawing its diplomats from Iran for their safety, as per the foreign minister of the country, Ceyhun Bayramov. He says that a day after Baku said 4 Iranian drones had crossed its border and injured 4 people in Nakhchivan enclave. And now Azerbaijan is withdrawing its envoys from Tehran for the sake of safety. It says a move after Iranian strike. And this is the latest update we're getting in right now. Foreign Minister of Azerbaijan says they're withdrawing envoys from Tehran. And this is the breaking news we have right now. It confirms the diplomat pullout from Tehran amid the strikes and bombardment, of course, escalating. And now we have the update from Azerbaijan. All right, we're shifting focus to other stories now. In a big move, viewers, big move that strengthens India's energy and oil reserves, the US president has signed a 30-day waiver for Russian oil purchases by India. Now, this comes at a point when the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most crucial shipping routes for oil, has been blocked by the IRGC amid the escalating war in West Asia. However, the Indian government has assured that there will be no rise in prices for now, insulating the economy from shocks. In fact, government sources also tell us that India had never stopped importing oil from Russia. In fact, in February, it was really on the highest level if you talk about the supply, the imports from Russia. More details in this report.
Iran has claimed control of the Strait of Hormuz, a crucial global shipping route. It has firmly said vessels allied with the US and Israel will be attacked if they attempt to cross the region. While most of the world is now reeling from surging oil prices, India remains resilient. We have a diverse supply chain for energy and do not rely only on the Strait of Hormuz. Our ties with Russia are strong, and so is the oil supply.
Resolution is always through negotiations. The conflict should stop as soon as possible.
How long this conflict is going to continue?
I have no idea. This is a question to the US. We have always been open towards supplying oil.
As per reports, 2 Russian tankers carrying a combined 1.4 million barrels of crude which were bound for East Asia have now diverted to India. The Indian government is rallying to insulate the economy from further expected shocks. As per sources, the government has 50 days of stocks at the ready. Further, they are assuring that there would be no increase in prices. As per government sources, India is in a very comfortable position in energy security and stocks are being replenished every day. India's friendly ties with Russia have proven to be a silver lining once again. Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated that European leaders have only themselves to blame for their energy situation.
Что касается Европы, то что происходит сегодня на европейских рынках, это, конечно, прежде всего результат ошибочной политики европейских властей в сфере энергетики. Это злоупотребление зеленой повесткой, это использование всех этих инструментов для внутриполитической деятельности и достижения партийных или каких-то групповых целей. Ничего общего с интересами народов этих стран такая политика не имеет.
While the rest of the world is bracing for unstoppable surge in energy prices for the next few days, India sits comfortably.
Now, it's beyond the financial impact that we are now trying to get you more information on. The humanitarian cost of this war is also immense. The UNICEF has raised alarms over the rising death toll of children in the ongoing war involving Iran, warning that minors are increasingly paying the price of the escalation. According to the UN agency, nearly 180 children have been reportedly killed in Iran in the latest wave of attacks. Many more injured. Here's more.
UNICEF has warned that children are increasingly bearing the cost of the ongoing war in Iran. The agency says nearly 180 children have been killed since the recent escalations began. 168 girls died when a strike hit the Shah Jirat Tayyebe Girls' Elementary School in Minab during class hours. Reports say most of the victims were between 7 and 12 years old. UNICEF also says 12 more children were killed in separate incidents at schools across 5 different locations. At least 20 schools and 10 hospitals have reportedly been damaged during the strikes. The deaths come amid intensifying US-Israeli strikes on Iran and Tehran's retaliatory attacks across the region. UNICEF has called on all sides to uphold international law and protect civilians, especially children.
News coming in right now. IRGC says that the 22nd wave of Operation True Promise 4 began with a barrage of the Khorramshahr 4, the Khyber and the Fatah missiles targeting the heart of the Israeli-occupied territories. So this 22nd wave of attacks is here, as announced by the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. And now they've in fact even mentioned about the missiles that have been deployed by the Iranians. In fact, it says that the Khorramshahr 4 has been targeting Israeli locations. In fact, it's a long-range missile, viewers. We talk about the Khorramshahr 4. It's a 1-ton warhead loaded missile, long-range one. And it also mentions of the others that have been launched in this 22nd wave of the attacks. Iran fires the Khorramshahr 4 missile along with the others, as mentioned, the Khyber and the Fatah missiles as well. Meanwhile, Iran has rejected claims of talks with the United States while asserting it will not back down in the ensuing attacks from the United States and Israel alliance. Statements from Iran's ambassador and deputy foreign minister reveal the country is set to hold out the war and resist the aggression till the last soldier. Iran asserts the killing of its supreme and religious leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is an act of heinous crime and maintains that attacks on oil refineries are false flags carried out by Mossad. We have the full story.
Iranian ambassador to Egypt said that Iran has not requested talks with the US to end the war. He said that meetings are on to elect the new supreme leader and official announcements are expected soon. Iran has asserted it will not back down and called the killing of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei a heinous crime. Iranian ambassador called the attacks a betrayal of the negotiating table and diplomatic solutions of the nuclear issue. The ambassador asserted Iran did not demand talks from the United States, nor will it return to the negotiation table. Meanwhile, Iranian Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs said the priority right now for Iran is to exercise ultimate resistance against the aggressors. The Iranian minister asserted there was no provocation from Iran and the attacks break all international norms. The Iranian minister called the attacks on oil refineries false flag operations by Mossad and claimed to avoid spillover of the war. This comes after US President Donald Trump claimed Iran wanted to talk after the attacks. Iran has launched Operation True Promise 4 in response to the attacks and hit several US and Israeli military camps while suffering heavy damage so far.
All right, viewers, with that, it's a wrap on this edition. But on the other side, we're going to tell you more details on the 30-day waiver from the United States of America for buying Russian oil amid rising conflict in West Asia.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है अरे मेरी राजा राजा और प्योर मसाला
يا نعش يشيل الشيعة سرتنا طاح المرتفع
रानी इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
आर प्योर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार, विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ,
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला।
يا نعش اللي يشيل الشيعة، سرتنا طاح المرتفع.
from Asia's largest news headquarters. Setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Very good evening, viewers. You're watching Live and Breaking, and I am Rakshita Mishra with you. The war is escalating, and we have some more breaking news coming in right now as we speak. The breaking news coming in is how Iran is unleashing its ballistic missiles on Israeli targets. And there you have a visual. We'll just tell you about the location there, but that is a huge plume of smoke that is billowing from a location there. We'll just try and tell you more updates about, more information as to where is this visual coming from. Okay, this is Beirut. Beirut being pounded once again by the Israeli forces as the Lebanese militia, the Houthis, I beg your pardon, the Hezbollah, has its targets now being more vulnerable than other, and Beirut again bearing the brunt of having Hezbollah there. Israel now targeting more and more buildings in Beirut. In fact, more than 100 people have been killed in Lebanon as south of Lebanon, as east, and Beirut city has been hit in Israeli strikes. Israel has launched huge strikes against Beirut after it ordered mass evacuation, and you can see the scale of those strikes right now on your screens. The visual coming in from Beirut. Residents fleeing Lebanese capital Beirut in panic ahead of the assaults, amid the assaults on the Hezbollah targets. Tehran continues to launch retaliatory attacks as well. But we have this visual from Beirut. This is the latest. This is the Beirut skyline after Iran launched another attack. Iran uses cluster munition. In fact, Iran has launched airstrikes on Beirut after Hezbollah fired the missiles. Hezbollah being a proxy of Iran, a terror group, the Hezbollah, Lebanese Shiite militia, and Hezbollah firing missiles across the border. And we have Israel now launching airstrikes on Beirut yet again, as it has also ordered mass evacuation of the people there. It's an area that has more than 500,000 people. Beirut, the military of Israel had ordered entire population to be evacuated. Massive strikes against the southern suburbs of Beirut, and you see the latest visual. In fact, you see the plumes of smoke. So from the military facilities to the depots, all those belonging to the Hezbollah have been targeted by the targeted in Israeli strikes as we speak. Getting in more visuals from Beirut. In the meantime, we have more breaking news that is from Iran. How Iran is unleashing its ballistic missile arsenal. We'll just get you that breaking news. So it's a video that we are now going to play out, viewers, that shows how Iranian ballistic missiles flying over the West Bank and dropping smaller bomblets which are found inside the missile. In fact, you have more visuals coming in of the cluster munitions with sub-munitions released from an Iranian ballistic missile that was fitted with a cargo warhead. And Israel has accused Iran of using cluster munitions during this war. Israel has used cluster munitions in previous wars in Lebanon. And what we understand, as per the experts, other countries have used cluster munitions, including Russia and Syria. Proponents of banning cluster bombs say that they kill indiscriminately and endanger civilians long after their use. So this is the breaking news we have right now. In fact, reports suggesting how Iran is showering these cluster munitions. As you can see, they look like fireworks of sorts, but it's actually very, very dangerous. This is a cluster munition of a missile, and they are unleashing these sub-munitions from that from that missile, and this is an entire shower of munitions. That, of course, is very, very dangerous, as we see what happened in Tel Aviv, similar scenes in West Bank. So that's the update we're getting in right now. Okay, so there is more update that we're trying to get you from Iran. We also have a guest joining us live on the broadcast. We have defense expert Major General Sudhakarji joining us. General Sudhakarji, thank you so much once again joining us on Republic TV. So we see this mosaic defense doctrine of Iran at play over here, sir. You know, how does this really make the military more and more resilient if the key command centers are targeted? Also, I want to understand from you this cluster munition that is visible right now upon West Bank and other parts of Israel. How dangerous is this?
Yeah, Rakshita, firstly, thank you for getting me for your show. It is very important to understand the transformation which Iran has gone through in past 8 to 9 months, but particularly from the month of January to 2026. I'm saying 8 to 9 months because the 12-day conflict which took place in June last year, if you count it from thereafter, the late Supreme Leader, he had a series of consultation with his advisory team, and they had gone in to identify, they knew that this assault was coming, and they had started preparing for it. And we need to understand, our viewers should do well to understand that Iran, as such, even today, is a theocratic society. Theocracy means that the religion is deeply entrenched. The Islamic radicalism is down to the root. While it is centralized vertical, the Supreme Leader has got the full control over judiciary, over defense, over the economy. It has got full control over all the industry, everything, virtually, political leadership. But in what has happened in past 8 months is there is a new format which has been introduced. That format is known as mosaic defense. It was talked about amongst very close coterie, but it came into being in the month of January because they started suspecting that this attack was imminent. Why they started suspecting? 13th of January 2026, there was a very important meeting in the White House where the Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio and host of other very senior officials were present. They gave a full presentation to Donald Trump, trying to convince him that Iran did not pose any kind of threat against USA. Therefore, plans to attack Iran should be dropped and they should focus on the ongoing conflict and the domestic issues. Somehow, while he agreed to this, but within a couple of days, the Jewish lobby being what it is the strongest lobby in USA. They had a greater sway and say. And maybe it is because of that he got swayed and he got drifted and the things changed so rapidly. There was a impromptu target which was available from the CIA and both the parties, 2 different operations were independently launched with different names. Israel and USA. One was Epic Fury, the other one, most of us know that, and they carried out the attack that knocked off the Supreme Leader and 49 senior leaders. So before that, what had happened was this mosaic defense had been introduced. What it meant was, earlier, the defense of entire Iran is to be centrally controlled by the IRGC, that is the Iranian Islamic Revolution Guard. When I say IRGC, they are the supporting paramilitary force. You will find in Wikipedia, Google and all saying they have a strength of 1.25 lakh to 1,90,000. Actually, the strength goes beyond 2,50,000. And they are always in a habit of playing down the figures. Yeah. So that is what it is. And IRGC has got a huge force. Rakshita, you must keep in mind, that force is known as Baji's force. Baji's force, on paper, you will find 9 lakh. But actually on ground, there are more than 20 million. They are trained in tactics, they are trained in weapons, weapon handling. They know small team concept, they know insurgency and terrorist activities, host of other things. They are expert in cyber security, expert in electromagnetic spectrum. That is the kind of capability they have. In addition, they have the Iran army, which is around 6 lakhs or more. They have got a reservist force of 2,60,000. They have have got Navy, those small in size, and the Air Force. So they got decentralized. The 31 provinces of Iran, they have got grouped into 5 different zones or theaters. You call them by any name. Each of the zone or theater has got a theater commander or a supreme commander of that particular zone. He's at liberty to take a final call and fight till the end. That is the kind of delegation of authority which is taking place. And besides that, if you have time, do come back to me. I'll explain about the cluster bomb as also the surge capacity. People haven't understood the meaning of surge capacity, why Iran today is endowed and is gifted with a huge surge superiority. It can actually produce n number of kamikaze drones, which even Israel and America cannot think of. Back to you, please.
Right, sir. Major General Sudhakarji, just requesting you to stay on with us. We have some more breaking news coming in. The Israeli Defense Forces are releasing a footage of the strike on Ali Khamenei's underground military bunker. It's a fresh visual that we understand is being released from the Israeli Defense Forces. Now, the IDF had dismantled Khamenei's underground military bunker beneath the Iranian leadership compound, and you just see the video we're going to play out. So this was a strike on the underground bunker where a meeting was going on. The former Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei was taken out, struck there. The underground bunker was destroyed. Here's a view. Here's a footage that has been released by the Israeli Defense Forces. In fact, IAF, that is Israeli Air Force fighter jets, had dropped around 100 bombs on the site. IDF says was located under Iran's leadership complex in Tehran, spreading across multiple streets and including many entry points. And there were many senior members of the Iranian regime that were meeting out there in that underground bunker. And now we see that strike. Major General Sudhakarji, we are getting in this, the Israel Defense Forces continue to share these visuals. Now, what do you have to say if you can see that video, Ali Khamenei's underground bunker, the way it was destroyed, and how the fighter jets had dropped around 100 bombs. There's a lot of, we speak about the intel, we speak a lot about how it was done. Sir, what are your views on this strike?
Yeah. It's a very perfect, I would say, you have brought up a very important issue, and this is underground bunker. Now, there is a couple of new strategies which were undertaken by Iran in past 8 months. One of the strategy was strategy of endurance. The strategy of endurance, actually, it had some subdivisions. One of them happened to be the strategy of dispersion of leadership, dispersion of infrastructure, defense industry lineup, dispersion of places, number of places where the manufacturing of this small cheap variety of kamikaze drones are taking place. In one day, they are able to produce something close to 400 to 1,000 drones. That is the kind of capability under conflict condition. They can go up to 10,000 to 12,000 drones per month. That is the surge capacity of Iran. So when you talk about this underground bunker, it was not one of its kind. There are many such kind of bunkers which have been built. I don't know how they managed to create, because the strategy of endurance is based on the paradigm that it's like two typical boxers. The stronger person, he takes the initial beating and he's roughed up nice and properly. He waits till the assailant or the aggressor gets tired, exhausted of all its resources. That is what precisely happening. Today, the Gerald Ford and Abraham Lincoln, they have got the fleets actually giving them protection. These fleets, they have like the destroyers, they have the submarines. They are the ones who have got the frigates, they have got the interceptors. When we talk about the Iron Dome is basically based on a concept of air defense weapon system, and these air defense weapon systems become effective only with the application of an interceptor. Development or manufacturing of one interceptor takes anything between 1.5 to 4 years, depending on the potential that it is expected to address against the oncoming missile. Today, as per the statistics, on 28th of February, the north and the southeastern portion of American Armada, they had just about 600 interceptors.
Okay.
Interceptors are far and few. It takes time. Cost of one interceptor or one missile is $4 million. That is the bottom line I'm talking of. One missile is not required. You require more than 2 to 3 missiles or interceptor to neutralize one cheap variety of drone, which is costing around 20,000. You can well imagine the cost multiplication multiplication, if one drone is $20,000 and one missile or interceptor is costing $4 million, it is 200 times. And multiply by that with 3 or 4, number of them have to be fired to neutralize one drone. You can well imagine what is the cost multiplication required and the time required to fetch all the way from the mainland of USA, manufacturing time. As on today, they have already projected a demand which is 4 to 5 times more than the conflict rate which is required in the Middle East. Back to you, Rakshita.
Right, thank you so much, Major General Sudhakar, for joining us on Republic TV with your reading of the situation. Now, shifting focus, viewers, to the other inputs that we're getting in for you. In fact, we had an exclusive conversation with Israeli envoy to India, Reuven Nazar. My colleague and senior executive editor Abhishek Kapoor spoke to him. Take a listen in.
We are being joined in this broadcast by Israel's ambassador to New Delhi, Reuven Nazar. Very good noon, Ambassador Azhar, and thank you so much for joining us in this broadcast. My first question to you, the last you came on a broadcast with us was about 3-4 days back. Are you closer to achieving your military objectives in the 5-6 days that have passed since?
Absolutely. We have hit very hard the capability of the Iranians to fire ballistic missiles.